Judges 17. And there was a man from the mountain of Ephraim, whose name was Micah, who said to his mother, "The 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, because of which you cursed, and of which you also spoke to me, behold, that money is with me, I took it." Then his mother said to him, "Blessed be of the Lord be my son." So he returned the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother, but his mother said, "I have fully devoted this money from my hand to the Lord, for my son to make a graven image and a molten image, so that now I will give it to you again." But he returned that money to his mother, and his mother took 200 pieces of silver, and gave them to the goldsmith, who made them a carved image and a molten image, which remained in Micah's house. And this man, Micah, had a house of gods, and he made an ephod and teraphim, and consecrated one of his sons to be his priest. In those days there was no king in Israel, each one did what seemed right in his eyes. And there was a young man from Bethlehem of Judah, of the tribe of Judah, who was a Levite, and sojourned there. And this man departed from the city of Bethlehem in Judah to sojourn wherever he thought fit. So when he came to the mountain of Ephraim, to the house of Micah, following his way, Micah said to him, "Where do you come from?" And he said to him, "I am a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, and I will sojourn wherever I see fit." Then Micah said to him, "Stay with me, and be my father and priest, and I will give you 10 pieces of silver each year, and clothing, and sustenance." And the Levite went in. And the Levite consented to stay with that man, and the young man was like one of his sons. And Micah consecrated the Levite, and the young man was his priest, and he was at Micah's house. Then Micah said, "Now I know that the Lord will do me good, because I have a Levite for my priest." Judges 18. In those days there was no king in Israel, and in the same days the tribe of the Danites sought for themselves an inheritance to dwell in, because until that day his inheritance had not fallen by lot among the tribes of Israel. And they sent the children of Dan, of his tribe, 5 men of them, mighty men, from Zorah and from Eshtaol, to spy out and survey the land, and they said to them, "Go, survey the land." And they came to the mountain of Ephraim, to Micah's house, and spent the night there. And when they were at Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young man, the Levite, and going there, they said to him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing here? And what do you have here?" And he said to them, "Thus and thus has Micah done to me, for he has hired me, and I serve as his priest." Then they said to him, "Inquire of God, that we may know whether the way which we are going will prosper." And the priest said to them, "Go in peace, the way you walk is before the Lord." Then those 5 men left and arrived at Lais, and they saw that the people that were in the midst of her were safe, according to the custom of the Sidonians, quiet and confident, nor was there any authority of the kingdom that by anything shamed anyone in that land. They were also far from the Sidonians, and had no dealings with anyone. Then they returned to their brothers, Zorah and Eshtaol, who said to them, "What say you?" And they said, "Arise, and let us go up against them, for we have examined the land, and, behold, it is very, very good. And will you be here at ease? Do not be lazy to go in to possess this land. When you arrive there, you will see a confident people, and the land is wide in extension, because God has given her into your hands, place where there is no lack of anything on earth." So there went from there, from the tribe of the Danites, from Zorah and from Eshtaol, 600 men armed with weapons of war. And they went up, and encamped in Kiriath-Jearim, in Judah. Then they called this place Manda, to this day. Behold, it is behind Kiriath-Jearim. And from there they passed to the mountain of Ephraim, and they came to Micah's house. Then answered the 5 men, who went to spy out the land of Laish, and said to their brothers, "Do you know also that in those houses there is an ephod, and teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? See therefore now what ye shall do." So they went there, and came to the house of the young man, the Levite, at Micah's house, and greeted him. And the 600 men, who were of the sons of Dan, armed with their weapons of war, stood at the entrance of the gate. But the 5 men who had gone up to spy out the land went up, and went in there, and took the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image, while the priest stood at the entrance of the gate, with the 600 men who they were armed with the weapons of war. So when they entered Micah's house, and took the carved image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" And they said to him, "Shut up, put your hand over your mouth, and come with us, and be our father and priest. Is it better to be a priest of one man's house than to be a priest of one tribe and one family in Israel?" Then the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod, and the teraphim, and the graven image, and went among the people. So they turned, and departed, and the children, and the cattle, and the baggage they set before them. And when they were far from Micah's house, the men who were in the houses by Micah's house gathered together and overtook the sons of Dan. And they cried after the sons of Dan, who turned their faces, and said to Micah, "What is the matter, that you summoned so many people?" Then he said, "My gods, which I made, you took me and the priest, and you departed. What else do I have left now? How then do you say to me, what is it that you have?" But the sons of Dan said to him, "Do not make us hear your voice, lest men of evil spirit come upon you, and you lose your life, and the lives of your household." So the sons of Dan went their way, and Micah, seeing that they were stronger than he, turned and went back to his house. So they took what Micah had made, and the priest that he had, and they came to Laish, to a quiet and confident people, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burned the city with fire. And there was no one to rescue them, because they were far from Sidon, and they had no relations with anyone, and the city was in the valley that is beside Beth-rehob. Then they rebuilt the city and lived in it. And they called his name Dan, after the name of Dan, his father, who was born to Israel. It was, however, before the name of this city Laish. And the sons of Dan set up that graven image for themselves, and Jonathan the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, he and his sons were priests of the tribe of the Danites until the day of the captivity of the land. So they established for themselves the graven image that Micah had made all the days that the house of God was in Shiloh. Judges 19. It happened also in those days, when there was no king in Israel, that there was a Levite man, who, sojourning on the sides of the mountain of Ephraim, took to him a concubine, from Bethlehem of Judah. But his concubine committed adultery against him, and she left him and went to her father's house in Bethlehem in Judah, and stayed there a few days, that is, for months. And her husband arose, and went after her, to speak to her in her heart, and to bring her back, and his servant and a pair of donkeys went with him, and she brought him to her father's house, and when the girl's father saw him, he was glad to meet him. And her father-in-law, the girl's father, detained him, and stayed with him 3 days, and they ate and drank, and spent the night there. And it came to pass on the 4th day, early in the morning, that he rose up to go. Then the damsel's father said to his son-in-law, "Strengthen your heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward you will depart." So they sat down together, and ate together, and drank, and the girl's father said to the man, "I beg you, please spend this night here too, and let your heart rejoice." But the man got up to go, but his father-in-law constrained him to spend the night there again. And, rising early on the 5th day in the morning to depart, the girl's father said, "Well, comfort your heart." And they stayed until the end of the day, and they both ate together. Then the man arose to go, he, and his concubine, and his servant, and his father-in-law. The girl's father said to him, "Behold, the day is waning, and the evening is drawing near. I ask you to spend the night here. Behold, the day is already ending. Spend the night here, and let your heart rejoice, and early in the morning get up and walk, and go to your tent." But the man would not spend the night there, but arose and departed, and came to the front of Jebus, which is Jerusalem, and with him a pair of saddled donkeys, and his concubine. So when they were near Jebus, and the day was far spent, the young man said to his master, "Let us go now, and let us depart to this city of the Jebusites, and spend the night there." But his Lord said unto him, "We will not withdraw into any strange city, that is not of the children of Israel, but we will go to Gibeah." He said more to his servant, "Let's go, and come to one of those places, and spend the night in Gibeah or in Ramah." So they went ahead and walked, and the sun went down for them at Gibeah, which is the city of Benjamin. And they withdrew thither to spend the night in Gibeah, and when he went in, he sat down in the square of the city, because there was no one to take them into the house to spend the night there. And behold, an old man came in the evening from his work in the field, And this man was from the mountain of Ephraim, but sojourned in Gibeah, but the men of this place were sons of Benjamin. Lifting up his eyes, he saw this traveler in the city square, and the old man said, Whither are you going, and whence have you come? And he said to him, We traveled from Bethlehem in Judah to the sides of the mountain of Ephraim, where I am from, for I went to Bethlehem of Judah, but now I go to the house of the Lord, and there is no one to pick me up at home. Yet we have straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for me, and for your maidservant, and for the lad that comes with your servants, nothing is missing. Then said the elder, Peace be with you, whatever you lack, stay in my charge, just don't spend the night in the square. And he brought him into his house, and fed the donkeys, and after washing their feet, they ate and drank. As they were making their hearts merry, behold, the men of the city, men who were sons of Belial, surrounded the house, knocking at the door, and they spoke to the elder, the lord of the house, saying, Bring out the man who entered your house, that we may know him. And the man, the owner of the house, went out to them and said to them, No, my brothers, do not do this evil, since this man has entered my house, do not do this madness. Behold, my virgin daughter and his concubine I will take them away from you, humble them, and do with them what seems good in your eyes, but to this man do not do this madness. But those men wouldn't listen to him, so that man took his concubine and brought her out, and they knew her and abused her all night until morning, and when the dawn rose, they left her. And at daybreak the woman came, and she fell at the door of the man's house, where her master was, and stayed there until it was light. And when his lord rose in the morning, and opened the doors of the house, and went out on his way, behold, the woman, his concubine, lay at the door of the house, with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, Arise, and let us go, but she did not answer, so the man got up and put her on the donkey and went to her place. So when he came to his house, he took a knife, and took his concubine, and dashed her and her bones into 12 parts, and he sent them throughout all the borders of Israel. And it came to pass that every one that saw it said, Never such was done, nor was it seen since the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt, until this day. Ponder this, consider, and speak. Judges 20. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together before the Lord in Mizpah, as one man, from Dan to Beersheba, and also the land of Gilead. And the chiefs of all the people, of all the tribes of Israel, stood before the congregation of the people of God, 400,000 men on their feet who drew the sword. Then the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel had gone up to Mizpah. And the children of Israel said, Tell me, how was this evil done? Then the Levite man, the husband of the woman who was slain, answered and said, I have come with my concubine to Gibeah, the city of Benjamin, to spend the night. And the citizens of Gibeah rose up against me, and surrounded the house by night. They tried to kill me, and violated my concubine, so that she died. Then I took my concubine, and I broke her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the land of Israel's inheritance, because they have done such evil and foolishness in Israel. Behold, you are all children of Israel, give here your word and advice. Then all the people arose as one man, saying, None of us will go to his tent, nor will any of us return to his house. But this is what we will do to Gibeah, we will proceed against it by lot. And from all the tribes of Israel we will take 10 men out of 100, and 100 out of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000, to provide food for the people, so that when he comes to Gibeah of Benjamin, they may do to him according to all the foolishness that he has done in Israel. So all the men of Israel gathered together against this city, united as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men throughout all the tribe of Benjamin, saying, What is this evil that has been done among you? Now therefore give us those men, the sons of Belial, who are in Gibeah, that we may slay them, and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not listen to the voice of their brothers, the children of Israel. Beforehand the children of Benjamin were gathered together from the cities in Gibeah, to go out to fight against the children of Israel. And the children of Benjamin were numbered that day from the cities, 26,000 men that drew the sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all this people there were 700 chosen men, left-handed, who could sling a stone at a hair's breadth and not miss. And they numbered the men of Israel, besides those of Benjamin, 400,000 men who drew the sword, and all of them men of war. And the children of Israel arose, and went up to Bethel, and they inquired of God, saying, Who among us shall go up first to fight against Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. So the children of Israel rose up in the morning, and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel arrayed against them at the foot of Gibeah. Then the children of Benjamin went out from Gibeah, and that day they brought down 22,000 men of Israel to the ground. But the people, that is, the men of Israel, strengthened themselves, and they again organized the battle in the place where they had ordered it on the first day. And the children of Israel went up, and wept before the Lord until the evening, and asked the Lord, saying, Shall I again come near to battle against the children of Benjamin my brother? And the Lord said, Go up against him. So the children of Israel came near to the children of Benjamin the next day. The men of Benjamin also met them the next day outside Gibeah, and they slew 18,000 men to the ground, all of whom drew the sword. Then all the children of Israel, and all the people, went up, and came to Bethel, and wept, and stood there before the Lord, and fasted that day until evening, and they offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, because the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, stood before him in those days, saying, Shall I fight again against the children of Benjamin my brother, or shall I stand still? And the Lord said, Go up, for tomorrow I will give you into your hand. So Israel set ambushes around Gibeah. And the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin on the third day, and arrayed the battle at Gibeah, as at other times. Then the children of Benjamin went out to meet the people, and they turned away from the city, and they began to smite some of the people, crossing them, as at other times, by the roads, one of which goes up to Bethel, and the other to Gibeah through the field, about 30 of the men of Israel. Then the children of Benjamin said, They are defeated before us as before. But the children of Israel said, Let us flee, and let us divert them from the city into the highways. Then all the men of Israel arose from their place, and arrayed the battle at Baal-Tamar, and the ambush of Israel moved out of its place, from the cave of Gibeah. And 10,000 chosen men out of all Israel came against Gibeah, and the battle was sore, but they did not know the evil that would come to them. Then the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and they destroyed the children of Israel that day, 25,100 men of Benjamin, all of them that drew the sword. And the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave way to the Benjaminites, because they trusted in the ambush which they had set against Gibeah. And the ambush hastened, and attacked Gibeah, and the ambush rushed upon it, and smote the whole city with the edge of the sword. And the men of Israel had a determined sign with the ambush, which was to cause a great cloud of smoke to rise from the city. So the men of Israel turned to battle, and Benjamin began to smite the men of Israel about 30 men, for they said, They are already unfailingly defeated before us, as in the former battle. Then the cloud of smoke began to rise from the city, like a column, and when Benjamin turned to look behind him, behold, the smoke of the city ascended to heaven. And the men of Israel turned away their faces, and the men of Benjamin were astonished, because they saw that evil would touch them. And they turned their backs before the men of Israel, to the way of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them, and those who came out of the cities destroyed them in their midst. And they besieged those of Benjamin, and pursued them, and at will trampled them down, even before Gibeah, toward the rising of the sun. And there fell of Benjamin 18,000 men, all these being mighty men. Then they turned their backs, and fled into the wilderness, to the rock of Rimmon. They gathered from them along the roads about 5,000 men, and closely followed them to Jiddim, and slew 2,000 men of them. And all that fell of Benjamin that day were 25,000 men that drew the sword, all of them mighty men. But 600 men turned and fled into the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, and they stayed on the rock of Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel returned to the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, from the men of the city to the animals, even to all that was found, and to all the cities, as many as they found, they set fire to. Judges 21. Now the men of Israel had sworn at Mizpah, saying, None of us shall give his daughter to the Benjaminites as wife. So the people came to Bethel, and stayed there until evening before God, and they all lifted up their voice, and wept with a great cry. And they said, Ah! Lord God of Israel, why has this happened, that one tribe is lacking in Israel today? And it came to pass the next day, that the people rose up in the morning, and built an altar there, and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And the children of Israel said, Who of all the tribes of Israel did not go up to the assembly of the Lord? For a great oath was taken concerning those who would not go to the Lord at Mizpah, saying, He will surely die. And the children of Israel repented concerning Benjamin his brother, and said, A tribe is cut off from Israel this day. How are we to get wives for those who are left of them, since we have sworn by the Lord that we would not give them any of our daughters for a wife? And they said, Are there any of the tribes of Israel that did not go up to the Lord to Mizpah? And behold, no one from Jabesh Gilead came to the camp, to the assembly. For when the people were numbered, behold, none of the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead was found there. Then the assembly sent 12,000 of the most valiant men there, and commanded them, saying, Go, and smite the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead, the women, and the little ones, with the edge of the sword. But this is what you shall do, every male and every woman that is lain with a man you shall utterly destroy. And they found among the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead 400 virgin girls, who had not known man, and they brought them to the camp, to Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan. Then the whole assembly sent and spoke to the children of Benjamin who were on the rock of Rimmon, and proclaimed peace to them. And at the same time the Benjamites returned, and they gave them the women they had kept alive, of the women of Jabesh Gilead, but these were still not enough for them. Then the people repented because of Benjamin, because the Lord had made a breach in the tribes of Israel. And the elders of the assembly said, What shall we do about women for those that are left, since the women of Benjamin were destroyed? And they said, Let Benjamin have an inheritance in the remnant, and let not any tribe of Israel be destroyed. But we are not able to give them wives of our daughters, because the children of Israel swore an oath, saying, Cursed is he who gives a wife to Benjamin. And they said, Behold, there is a solemnity of the Lord in Shiloh from year to year, which is celebrated toward the north of Bethel toward the rising of the sun, along the high road that goes up from Bethel to Shechem, and toward the south of Lebonah. And they sent to the children of Benjamin, saying, Go and lie in wait in the vineyards. And look, and, lo, the daughters of Shiloh dancing in circles, go out of the vineyards, and take each his wife from the daughters of Shiloh, and go to the land of Benjamin. And it shall come to pass, when their fathers or their brothers come to sue us, we will say to them, For our sakes, have mercy on them, for in this war we do not take wives for each of them. Why did you not give them to them, that you should now be guilty? And the children of Benjamin did so, and they took women according to their number, from those they plucked from the dancing wheels, and they went and returned to their inheritance, and rebuilt the cities, and dwelt in them. The children of Israel also departed from there, each to his tribe and to his family, and they went out from there, each to his inheritance. In those days there was no king in Israel, but each one did what was right in his own eyes. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and make a comment.